Yeah. All right. Welcome, everyone. It is so great to have you here at our February Women Alternative Photography Group online meetup. This is I think it's like our third one now. We'll have people kind of pop in and out. And of course, we've got a big international community, so everyone's kind of joining from different time zones. So I appreciate everyone coming today. We've got two presentations. We've got Kristina and Dale, which is really exciting. So we'll get into that in just a second. But let me just share my screen and do a little intro thingamajigger. Here we go. Look at my face. That's gross. All right. Can everyone see that okay? Excellent. All right. So as I said, this session is going to be recorded and then I will upload it to the YouTube channel. So if you do not want your face being shown, that's absolutely fine. Not a problem. Just make sure to turn your video off. But we'd love to see your faces. If you do want to keep your video on, it's always great to get to know everyone in the community. Welcome. This is the Women Alternative Photography Group online meetup. For those, oh, sorry, my dog is doing silly things, getting tangled in wires. For those that this is the first time, welcome. We're very happy to have you here. It's a very informal, very casual sort of meetup. We just mostly want to sort of celebrate alternative photography and get to know each other. So super chill, laid back. Just a few bits of the etiquette. This is a safe space for sharing and community, so please be kind when providing feedback about another person's work. If you can keep your mic muted if you're not speaking. And then if you are triggered by anything that is presented during any of the presentations, feel free to step out and you can come back in when you're ready if you want to. But I believe that usually people do a trigger warning beforehand, but if there is something that you need to step out, that's absolutely fine. Please take care of yourself and do what you need to do. So for those who don't know, Women Alternative Photography Group is a feminist research project celebrating women, non-binary, gender diverse, and artists from marginalized groups working with alternative photographic processes. Our mission at its core, we are committed to researching and distributing new knowledge on innovative and experimental processes, as well as historical techniques that are currently being reinvigorated and reinvented. At the moment, since I am a PhD student and also working and have a bunch of other commitments, it's limited as to what I'm currently doing, but right now it's mostly these monthly interviews, which if anyone has had an opportunity to read them, hopefully you have explored the website and checked them out, but we've had a whole wealth of artists who have very kindly and generously answered my questions and have shared their practice with us. And we have ranging from cyanotypes to salt printing, pinhole, film soup. There's a whole array. So it's a really great resource. And the thing that I love about interviews, and I sort of discovered this when I first started doing my PhD, was that when you're doing interviews, you can kind of get like sort of the behind the scenes, you get like more information is revealed rather than if you're just sort of browsing someone's website. So it's a really great way to learn about people's practices. So I invite you to go and check out the website and check out those interviews. There are some good ones, and we will have a new one hopefully early this week or coming up soon. So that'll be exciting. We also have been doing some Instagram takeovers. So we currently have Lauren Oliver who's taking over right now. So if you go onto our Instagram account, you can check out Lauren's work. And then next week we have Ria who will be joining us taking over. So and if anyone is ever interested in doing an Instagram takeover, just send me a DM or email and we can get that set up. We have a couple openings coming up. So if you are interested, let me know. And then just a little bit about me. I'm the founder and director of Women Alternative Photography Group. I'm an artist, a researcher, and a curator. I'm based here in the Pacific Northwest and the South of England. I'm doing my PhD at the moment at the University for the Creative Arts, and hopefully we'll be finishing next year, fingers crossed. I'm also an adjunct professor at Western Washington University and the co-author of Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion, Women in Photography, Changes in Policy and Practice, which is a great resource if anyone is interested in learning about the representation of women in the arts in the UK. My work primarily is about migration, homesickness, transnationality, place attachment and declarative episodic memory from the perspective of migrant women. But that is enough for me. Now, let's get to the good stuff, the presentations. So, Kristina or Dale, do you have a preference on who goes first? No? Kristina, do you want to go first?
Sure. Why not?
Excellent. All right, so if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Yes.
I will keep an eye on the chat if anyone has any questions throughout, but I think what we'll do is we'll do Kristina's presentation, then we'll have a moment for questions, and then we'll move on to Dale's if that's okay. But please do put them in the chat box and I will keep track of them as we go. But all right, over to you, Kristina.
Thank you very much. First of all, my computer is getting really overheated, so I hope you don't hear all the fans going on. But yeah, hello, my name is Kristina Žetko. I'm a visual artist working mainly with cameraless photography. I'm originally from Slovenia, but I have moved to Sweden a few years ago and decided to stay here for a little while. Let me see, yes. This is how my photographic journey started 12 years ago. It was my older brother that was studying at academy and came home with a pinhole camera. And I really liked it, so immediately I made my own. And at that time I was 15, barely 15. And although first results weren't really successful, but after more or less few more or less empty overexposed films, I kind of figured out. And this is what led me the decision to study photography. I first enrolled in a secondary school for 4 years as a program photographic technician. And as the name says, it was very technical, but I got an amazing professor that was old school with a lot of knowledge, black and white, darkroom. So she taught me a lot and encouraged me to go to academy. And our academy was in some ways pretty classical. So we had also mandatory painting and sculpturing, which really benefited me. And big focus on theory, in general, art theory, color theory, etc. But I wanted to focus more on fine art photography. So this is why I did the first exchange to Sweden at that time it was Valent Academy. Now it's Hodecal Valent Academy in Gothenburg. And this is where I continued to study later also my master of fine art, which allowed me to develop my own practice a little bit more freely. So I'm gonna jump here a little bit, but just because I want to point out that all this knowledge I gained during these 10 years of education, it's very important for me to share it with others. And I'm holding, together with my fiance, we're holding workshops, usually more for, mainly for kids and youth. And it's going on basics of cameraless photography. So far, we have what we can do with tools used in black and white darkroom, but without darkroom itself, mainly photographs and camograms. Moving to my artistic practice, I first want to show this photograph, which is the documentation of my main and still ongoing project titled Brainstorm, a sudden state of being unable to think clearly. And these are all original analog prints created either in color or black and white darkroom. But let's see a little bit of a journey, how I got here. So this is one of my first works. I have a new computer and I haven't copied anything, so I kind of struggled to pick this few together. And in the beginning, I was very much working with the pinhole camera obscura. And actually, all these works here were done during the studies and usually for study assignments, and usually in January for study assignments. And besides, let's say, cyanotype and toning of photographs, the two-color gum prints down there, the green and black one, was the first time I got colors into my photographs. And this led me into other, like how to find other options to do that, because I didn't have at that time access to color darkroom. And combine, please first, not focus on the motive that much, because that was just randomly picked. But this was the, I combined my painting knowledge with my photography knowledge. So this was first of examples when I was trying to, add colors in a way of, with acrylic colors or inks. And I was focusing more into patterns and doing any realistic, realistic coloring. And I thought it was gonna be actually my BA degree, but then I did an exchange to Sweden, and I for the first time got to work in a color darkroom. I wasn't really interested in developing photographs in a classical way, so I started doing photograms, and I somehow stuck with the color pink, and this is how my degree work changed. My BA thesis in a research part was the role of color pink in relation to femininity. And the practical part of it had a title of pinkification, which is a term used to describe the process of oversaturating things with color pink, usually to add stereotypically female qualities or to attract female audience in various contexts. So the entire body of work has a resembling of a girly journal, and these are just 3 photograms out of just a glimpse out of the whole body of work, which was also portraits, still lifes, etc. So I'm gonna jump now a little bit again, 3 years after actually. And this is a very important project for me. It was also one of the first experimental projects in color darkroom. It's a collaborative work together with artist Johan Schellman. And he's a visual artist, otherwise working more with interactive light installations, and I really recommend you to check his work also. But however, what we did here is that photographic paper was exposed with 2 different lasers, so with green and red. And the developing of the paper, it's classical. It's the use of machine, like the color paper isn't possible to develop by hand, to me, so far. So moving forward or returning back to the beginning, this is my main work titled Brainstorm. It's an experimental camera-less photography. It's I started working on it in color darkroom, and later I continue in black and white. And as you can see, color prints are much bigger in comparison to black and white ones. And the title of the project is related to the personal experience of epileptic auras. And this is why the definition of the word, so the word brainstorm, a sudden state of being unable to think clearly, it's also equally important. As said, all these photographs are camera-less, and they are made by exposing paper with hand-painted negatives. These are made by painting transparent sheets with different paints, but I mainly use acrylics. And I use them then just as normal negatives. So I place them in a enlarger, project them, and expose the paper. And first it started with smaller prints, but then it continued to bigger ones. And the color ones consist of very vibrant, colorful motifs, patterns on a deep black background. And because of the image, it's enlarged, you can see the structure of paints and the tiny bubbles and scratches. So it's really important. It's really, it's very differently experienced looking at it in live than on screen, obviously. But until recently, all the prints were oriented, so like in portrait mode, and some of them are horizontal, but those are not digitally reproduced yet. And they're slightly varied in size, but they are all 75 centimeters wide and approximately 105 centimeters long. And sorry, we use metric system, so I don't know how it is in others. But as said, black and white photographs are smaller, 13 times 18 centimeters. And they are created with same negatives, but main difference is that this I can develop by hand. And this allows me to use chemigram technique on it and creating even more patterns or control which parts I want to develop more, which I want to develop less, if I want to fully develop paper or leave it more in gray tones. And to also give even more contrast between color and monochromatic prints, I in some cases choose to leave areas completely white. And yeah, you can then just see a little bit of glimpse on negatives where the paper is developed. This project has been exhibited in several different occasions and different settings. This was one of the galleries that presenting work only on digital screen. But, and even though, as I said, it's really important for me that my photographs are seen as originals in life, but there was something here that I liked, and this was the touch screen. And as you can see here, it's very zoomed in my photograph. And that was what I liked, is that you can see.
So, or for this morning, I remembered it.
Yeah, okay. You can see those tiny bubbles and stretches that I mentioned before. Otherwise, this was one of the first time I presented it in the is in live together, black and white and colors in the Gallery Format in Malmö. And it's, yeah, here I decided to skip any type of framing. I'm in general not a fan of that, but however, later, this exhibition is where the full presentation and installation of the project actually came like truly alive, as it should. This is exhibited at the art hall, Rådestenkonst-hall in Gothenburg, Sweden, in the late spring. And since it was a darker space and with the use of spotlights, I really wanted that those color prints stand out and that their vibrant patterns are really obvious. So, and at the same time, I didn't want the black and white would get lost since they're so much smaller. This is why I build on my own light boxes for each of them. And this allowed for black and white also to be lighted up separately, and it gave some kind of frame around. And yeah, this was actually the last time the Brainstorm project has been exhibited, because since that time, for the past year and a half, I've been working with sculptural light installation, more or less. But at the end of October, this project will be exhibited in the gallery in Slovenia, in case somebody is going to be somewhere around there. Very welcome to visit. And I'm really looking forward, because it's going to be a solo show, and I finally can show new prints I've been working on. And yeah, I'm very excited to present that to the public. So that's all from me. I hope I kept it short enough. Thank you, and you're very welcome to follow my work and my working process either on Instagram or websites for some new announcements. That's all.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your work, and congratulations on the upcoming show. That's so exciting. I wish I was going to be in Slovenia to see it.
Yeah, it's a bit far, but yeah, thank you.
Very cool. We've got a few people saying beautiful work. If you have any questions for Kristina, you can either put it in the chat, or if you feel comfortable to unmute yourself, you can ask yourself. Just let me know, and we can maybe while people are typing or thinking of questions, I will ask you a question.
Oh yeah.
My question for you is, first of all, incredible process. I love the whole painting on the negative and then going into the darkroom. And I have done similar things in the past, and I found it's so hard when you're working with color if you don't have a color darkroom. And so you were saying that you were introduced to it when you went to Gothenburg. Is that where it was that you got the?
Exactly.
Do you see, like, for the future of your work, I know that they're closing a lot of color darkrooms around. Do you plan on going a different route, or do you have you thought about what happens when the color darkrooms are all closed?
Yeah, I actually struggle, and it's kind of hurting me that for a while now already. So that's why I'm doing a stock so far, as much as I can do it. Honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna see. So far I would like to continue as it is as much as possible. But yeah, that's eating me in the back of my brain all the time. So yeah, we'll see, honestly. I can still I'm still working a little bit with other Lumen prints and that, but it's not such a joy. So we'll see. Hopefully I will, until I maybe start on some new project, we'll have an option to work in color darkroom.
Very cool. Well, it looks like we've got a question from Morgan. I'm sure there are many test experiments and prints when you're working this way. How do you decide which prints work that you want to include in the public display of your work? What does your editing down process look like when you finish your series?
Good question. Thank you. Yes, I have a lot of works that haven't been part of it or they're standing on the side. Honestly, my working process is that I put them in my apartment or where I have on the ground and I just see what works together, what not. Maybe you notice that these works here, they all have a little bit more blue, purple, pink tones. I have a lot of photographs that are really in a green tones. So those, I don't know why haven't been selected yet. So I'm going completely in by intuition. I don't have any exactly, I would say, a formula or any strict rule how to do it. So yeah. And then also in the space, if it is an option to, I mean, if it's a bigger space to bring, all my photos are on D-bonds, so to bring there and lie them next to the wall and see what it works, what not. And yeah, sorry, not really helpful, but yeah.
No, I think that's great. I don't know if you're familiar with Karen Noor's work. She is a phenomenal photographer based in England at the moment. And back in the 80s, she produced a series called Punk. And it had a very limited, I think only like 20 images in it. And her entire career, there's only been like these 20 images that she selected back in the 80s. And now, many, many years later, she's like, screw it. I'm discovering new stuff. I'm finding these old negs and like, why didn't I include these ones? So I think sometimes when you have this like plethora of material, sometimes they can come to light later on as well, which is always really exciting.
Exactly. I have tons and tons and tons of test prints that, and I'm a holder. Like I don't throw anything away unless it's really bad. So I'm also thinking how to use those, if it will be a collage or some small sections of it or what. So yeah, that's still definitely something to use.
Very cool. Do we have any other questions? Well, if we are good on questions, remember you can always put them in the chat and we can come back to them later, but perhaps we should move on to Dale, if that's okay. So round of applause. Well done, Kristina.
Sure.
Thank you. Excellent job. And then yes, over to you, Dale.
Kristina, I love that point that you ended on, like, what do you do with all of your tests and scraps and things that don't make the cut? And like the idea of finding a use for them, I think is really interesting. So collaging or whatever it ends up being, because I think a lot of people hold on to their tests because they can be beautiful in themselves, but they don't necessarily fit with like the project. So
Exactly. Thank you. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they're gonna end up in.
yeah, that's exciting. So hi everyone, this is my first time joining, which is great. I'm glad to be here. And I wasn't 100% aware that I was going to be doing a presentation. So I whipped something together this morning before I had to do like a portfolio review event. So apologies if it's not like super polished. And I think that's it for intro. But what I did was I selected a few ongoing projects that I'm currently working on or trying to work through. So I just have a few images from each of those. So they kind of go from more like straight work, because my background is in film photography primarily. So for most of my life, I shot film, and they're mostly focused on portraiture, environmental portraiture. And then in recent years, I've been doing some more alternative and historic process work. So it kind of goes from the most straight to more alternative historic process work. So the first project that I'm sharing is called Look at Me, and it's an environmental portrait series where I collaborate with survivors of sexual assault in creating a portrait of them that depicts them from a place of strength. So I work very collaboratively with the people who are generous enough to be part of this project, and they decide where they want to photograph, what they want to wear, all of kind of like the art direction that goes into making a portrait. So they have the major say in sort of the art direction. And then also when it comes to editing, both the images, and then I do interviews with everyone. And so also editing the text down, I work again in collaboration with them. So these are just a few images from that series. And we have conversations about, you know, their concept of strength as it's self-defined and how that can be best depicted through these portraits. And then jumping on to the next series, that's kind of an ongoing series that I've been working on for several years. It's called Reconciliation, and it's a pinhole self-portrait series. And kind of the reconciliation aspect of it pertains to the relationship that humans have with the natural world and trying to reconcile that relationship and balance it. So because of the long exposures that you need for pinhole, I'm often like very transparent or overtaken by my natural surroundings. And so trying to visually bring that balance back to the relationship between people and nature. The next few images are kind of all over the place, as is all of my work, as you can see. But I'm currently trying to work through something, and I'm not sure exactly what the final form is going to take, but I've been doing a lot of reading about time and different concepts and definitions of time. And that was sort of spurred on by a trip to Iceland, where there's an active volcano with cooling or cooled lava flows. And then you travel a little bit and there are fields of volcanic rock. And then you travel a little bit and there are beaches with black sand, which is the crushed volcanic rock. So it really struck me how all of these different points of geologic time are like on view, like very apparently in this one spot. So I started thinking a lot about time and in different concepts of time, geologic time, time as a human construct. And so I'm trying to, oh, also the connection, again, this kind of goes back to the previous project, the connection between nature and humanity, and how some of these places that are very volatile are also very fragile, very beautiful, but the volatility can have an impact on humans and society. So I'm in the process of photographing in areas of the world that are like volcanic in nature or very fragile, because those seem to be very important in this dynamic between humanity and nature. We take the for instance of a volcanic eruption that happens in one part of the world and it has like devastating effects somewhere else as far as crop failures and whatnot, and then that can then lead to societal upheaval, war, etc. So that's all, like all of that is floating around in my head, and I'm doing a lot of reading and a lot of research, and I'm not sure exactly what this is going to end up looking like. But that concept of time, so using pinhole again for that slow time, and then just documenting these like volatile and fragile places I had a residency in Finland where I was able to access a microscope. So I did some photomicroscopy of some of the mostly plant material, also some fur of the native species that were there. And so I did the photomicroscopy and then made digital negs and made platinum prints from those. So that also fits in there somewhere. And then I also, this is the first one I did, and now it's something that I'm kind of looking at doing more of, these kind of segmented panoramic landscapes that, again, like go to the passage of time. They pertain to that concept. So all of that I clustered together, even though it's very different, because it may somehow come together at some point, but it has to do with these thoughts I'm having regarding time and volatility and the connection between humans and nature. This next project is also ongoing. I kind of do it casually when I travel, and it's, you know, obviously cyanotype exposed in whatever body of water I find myself near. And I just like, it's, you know, obviously a very simple technique, but sometimes it shows personality, and it could be the same body of water exhibiting different sort of personalities throughout the time that I'm there. And then this last body of work is kind of a retrospective that I'm working on called The First 50, because I turned 50 a couple of years ago. And I have photographed a lot of different subject matter throughout my life. As you can probably tell, I'm a little bit all over the place. So I'm going back and reprinting a lot of these kind of different subject matters, different images from the first sort of half of my life as a photographer, and doing platinum palladium prints to sort of tie them together, at least visually. And so there are architectural renderings, there are portraits from different series, close-ups of like natural elements, and some travel related work or landscape work. And that's all I got. Those are kind of the things that I'm currently working on.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And also welcome to your first time being here. That's so exciting.
Thanks.
I'm sorry if there was a bit of a mix up with the tickets, but I'm glad that you presented. It was wonderful to get to see your practice. Do we have any questions? If you want to pop them in the chat while you guys are thinking of questions, I will ask one that I was thinking of. Your very first project that you mentioned, you were talking about the collaboration with the interviews that you were doing, and I have just gone through a whole series of doing interviews, and the transcribing takes ages. And when I was working on it, when I think the first time I did the interviews, I hadn't really considered the ethics behind interviews and the transcription process and the consideration that you have to think about when you're representing another person's words and how they would like to be. I guess in my head, I had kind of always thought like, oh, you do an interview, you type it up, that's it, you know? And so I was just wondering what that process was like for you, working with such a, you know, a very difficult topic, and with these people, a vulnerable group of people, what that experience was like for you to sort of work around the ethics of it.
Yeah, I've even in projects like that I've done in the past where maybe there wasn't a text element to it, even just with the strict like environmental photography work that I've done, I've always engaged the people who I was photographing with the image selection. So I'm kind of starting this project from that point of understanding that for me, when I'm either in a community or entering a community, I want the people who I'm photographing to be pleased with what I'm presenting as them. So Yeah, like what I'll do with the photographs is I'll do an initial edit. So I'll give them an edit of images that I would be happy with if they selected any one of them as like the final image, that I'd be good with that. So that's usually, it's not just one or two, it's like maybe, I don't know, it depends on the person and how much we shoot together, but maybe 6, 8, 10 images. And so then from those, they'll either pick the one that jumps out to them, or they'll pick a few, and then we'll go back and forth and kind of select the final one. And then with the interviews, yeah, I mean, they can be very intense. And so I typically will try to meet with someone one day to do the interview, and then like go our separate ways, and then meet again like the next day to photograph. Because it can get very emotional, and just to give them some space to kind of process what they've just spoken about, and then we'll meet again and we'll photograph, and then I'll do the transcription. I don't use AI or any kind of program to do the transcription. I do it myself, and it does take a very long time, but it's important for me to get everything right. And yeah, then I'll go through and I'll do an edit, like an initial edit, and I will share it with the person, and then they will get back to me with any like changes or updates that they'd like to be seen, or they would like to be seen, they would like to see. Because sometimes when well, that's a prime example, sometimes when you're speaking, things don't come out quite right. So to give them the opportunity to go back and maybe polish some of what they said or make changes is important. And yeah, so they're part of both aspects of the like editing process, and also, like I said, just selecting like the location, what they might be wearing, if there are any props, like how they want to be presented. Yeah, because it's all about how they want to express their strength, their path to strength. Sometimes people don't feel that they've achieved strength, and so that's something too. So yeah, it's very important, especially with this project, because it is very personal and sensitive, that collaboration is strong.
Yeah, thank you. Really important work. We've got a few questions that have come through. Malika, I think is how you say it, is asking, how did you find people to collaborate, and what was the goal of the Strength Project?
I think the goal is just so I think I've honed in on the goal as I've been photographing it, just to show people who may be experiencing something similar that there's not like one path to regaining your strength or finding your strength or re-entering the world, or whatever the right phrasing is. There's not just one way to do that. Everyone has like different stories, different experiences, different reactions, and different paths forward. And so to show as many of those as possible, and also to show some of the struggles that people go through, might be helpful to people who are in a similar situation, unfortunately. And how did I find the people? The first few people I photographed, I knew, and I can't even remember how it came up, but it's just been word of mouth. I was two people who I photographed were in the same show together that I curated. One of them I had photographed already, and she was an old friend of mine. And she just turned to the other person, knowing that I wanted to look for more people to photograph for this project or to collaborate with. And she just asked her point blank, have you ever been sexually assaulted? And like, unfortunately, the answer was yes. So then she became someone who I collaborated with. And it's just kind of been word of mouth. And it is very difficult because I don't feel comfortable aggressively seeking people to photograph because it's so private. So it's been a bit slow finding people, honestly, but that's just the nature of the type of project. I think
Thank
that's
you.
it, right?
Our next question is from Sarah, who says, thank you. Love the sequence photography. Happy to see it larger than the Instagram post on my phone. Can you walk us through your process for sequence photography?
Yeah, I mean, that one that I showed was the first one I've done, and I have a couple other sequences that I've put together since that I still have to print. But yeah, I'm shooting, that one was with medium format. I've done at least one since with large format, so I'm either doing a large or medium format, and I'll just set up the shot, take note of where the edge is, and then overlap the next one slightly. And then sometimes I will like purposefully raise or lower it so that it's not, I'm not interested in doing like a stitched panoramic image. Like I want that kind of up and down, imperfect kind of look to it. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And I print them like the one I showed, I have like 15 by 15 individual images. So when I place them all together, it's, you know, like, I don't know how many feet wide, 4 feet, 5 feet wide. So I don't know. I hope that answers your question, Sarah.
Excellent. And then Morgan has said, I love collaboratively choosing the image that you're showing. I've done this before too, and it's been really rewarding process. Interesting to see what others are drawn to. There you go. Excellent. Well, if there are any more questions, please put them in the chat box, or if you want to just use your mic, you can do that too. Otherwise, massive thank you to both Dale and Kristina. Thank you so much for your presentation. Well done. Really excellent job. Thank you everyone as well for coming. It has been such a pleasure to have you all here today and to get to know some of you a little bit better. If anyone is interested in doing any of the Instagram takeovers or an interview, just send me an email or just DM me and we can get that set up. And we will be having an interview come live hopefully next week or in the next few weeks. And yeah, there'll be lots of takeovers happening. And hopefully some in-person meetups coming up soon. I really want to do, I know that everyone's sort of based all over the world, so it's really difficult to do in-person ones. So I'm hoping to maybe do some, maybe do like a Pacific Northwest one, maybe do like an England one, and then maybe if I can save up enough money, I can go to other places as well. But it would be really, really great to meet some of you in person and to get to see everyone's work in person as well. And eventually, at some point, maybe when I'm done with my PhD, I really want to do a Women Alternative Photography Group exhibition. So please stay in contact and come to our next meeting. We do them sort of every quarter. So we'll do one in about 3 months' time. And then yeah, just stay in touch and hopefully see you at the next one. So thank you, Dale, again, and thank you, Kristina. And yes, have a lovely weekend. Well, I guess it's halfway over for some people and maybe all the way over for other people. But thank you, everyone. It was so good to see you all.
Thank you, Livy, for putting this all together.
Of course, thank you.
Thank
Let me
you.
stop.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.